January the 7th, 2020. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Tom Seeger. Carolyn Parker. Bernie Willie.
Here.
Todd Richard.
Here.
Dave Doherty.
Here.
Patrick Fitzmaurice.
Here.
Weldon Crawford.
Here.
Kirk Drum.
Here.
Ron Randolph.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Announcements, please silence all phones and electronic devices. Appeals, if you disagree with any decisions this commission makes, you have the right to appeal it to the council. The appeal cards are on the railing over to my right. Speaker cards, we'd like to have everyone that speaks fill out a speaker card unless you're the petitioner. Public speaking's 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. And please exit the building if you want to have discussion with some of the folks that are here because it echoes back into the chambers here. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Richard.
You blessed us as we experienced a very fulfilling and joyous holiday season, Lord, from Christmas through New Year. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We thank you for our commissioners. We thank you for those that's in the audience and the citizens that we serve. Lord, we ask that you bless us with your grace and mercy continually. Also our parish and our employees. And Lord, we ask that you continue to be with all of our military personnel, veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and medical personnel. Grant them the wisdom as you will, Lord, that they will continue to be ever ready to provide protection and safety. In your Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the December 3rd minutes. It was in your packet. Is there any changes that need to be made? I'll accept the motion for approval. Commissioner Randolph. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion has passed to approve.
Thank you. All right. Postponing cases. Staff, do we have any cases to postpone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We would like to request to postpone item number 4, which is a text change, and we would like to request to postpone for 2 months until the March zoning meeting.
All right. Anything else?
No other requests, sir.
Okay. Let me read this for the record, and then we'll look for a motion and all that. 2019-1712-ZC, an ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code, Section 130-1264, relative to permitted uses in the PF1 Public Facilities District to add a new permitted use, private, nonprofit animal services, including but not limited to veterinary clinic, kennel, boarding, grooming, dog park, and pet cemetery. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Make a motion to approve for 2 months.
Postpone for 2 months.
Postpone, I'm sorry.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph.
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Carolyn, thank you. The motion to postpone for 2 months has passed.
Thank you. back to the front of the agenda. 2019-1707-ZC. Existing zoning's A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning's HC3 Highway Commercial District. It's 0.5 acres. Petitioner's Value Boys Towing. Casey Thon. Owner's Barbara Jones. Parcel located at the southeast corner of 2nd Avenue and Louisiana 433, being lots 117 and 118, Pine Villa subdivision, otherwise known as 39240 2nd Avenue, Slot L, Ward 8, District 13. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses that vary in site design and density. Staff is not in favor of the request as the majority of the parcels along Highway 433 are zoned residential.
All right, thank you. Petitioner, Casey Thon, are you here? Yes, sir. You want to come to the mic and state your name and address for me?
My name is Casey Cohen. My address is 332 Jacob Street, Slidell, Louisiana.
Okay. You heard the staff report that they're, don't think it would be a good change to go to the HC3, right?
Yes, sir. I just thought maybe they would give us a consideration, being that directly across the street is basically the same exact thing, a storage yard, and behind it, adjacent behind it, is another storage yard. It might not be the exact same HC3, but it's still a huge commercial body shop.
Okay.
I got a couple pictures for y'all if y'all would like to look at them.
Now, let's see here, what's across the street is HC2.
HC2, yeah. But it is a storage, I mean, it's a huge storage yard. And the
Okay.
piece of property that we're looking at is probably a quarter the size, if maybe smaller than that piece of property. And behind it's also another storage yard. It used to be a mechanic shop, a commercial mechanic shop. I'm not sure if it still is, but it's abandoned, but that was another piece of commercial property that was a storage yard.
Okay. All right. Helen, HC3 will allow him to do what he's asking for. What about HC2? I mean,
Well, HC2 is definitely not going to allow that. As far as HC3, I'm just wondering, maybe the petitioner can clarify what he's planning on doing exactly. I mean, I could see it's maybe a towing company.
We own a towing company. We was looking for a place to store some vehicles, and when we went to the parish, they told us that the correct zone we need would be HC3. That's what they told us that we needed.
I'm trying to pull up the ordinance right now. I would have to verify this would be the correct zoning. Are you associated with an insurance agency? Or
No, ma'am, we're a private towing company, but that's the zoning that they said that we needed was HC3 in order to have a storage yard that would be highway commercial zoning. And they do have a storage yard across the street, and the zoning is different, but I'm not sure why, but that's what the parish told us that we needed was HC3.
according to the map that we have, the uses that are there may be grandfathered in. However, if we what is allowed here under the HC3 is a storage facility associated with insurance companies or related office for wrecked or impounded vehicles.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, in the future, we're not set up for that right now, but we would like to.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the statement here. You said,
As of right now, we don't deal with any insurance companies, but we would like to try and get on a rotation with the parish in order to be able to store insurance vehicles.
okay, so right now, y'all don't have a business in?
No, we do have a business. We transport and tow, but we don't do anything we're not on a rotation with the parish or anything like that. We were just looking for a small location where we could have the opportunity to store vehicles if we wanted to. And in order to do that legally through the parish, we would have to have that zoning. That's what the parish told us we needed.
Okay,
however, here it's a storage facility that is associated with an insurance company or a related office. So if you have a wrecked vehicle that is awaiting to be, looked at, in regards to the insurance company, or if it's impounded, then that would be allowed. So I'm not exactly sure if this would meet the criteria of what he's trying to accomplish. I'm not aware, I don't know how many towing trucks they have as well.
Let me make this suggestion to you, Mr. Thon.
Yes, sir.
Since there is some confusion, and I think the appropriate thing to do would be for us to postpone this for 1 month and give you an opportunity to get with Ms. Helen and, get everything lined out so that you know what you're asking for, we know what you're asking for, and get it into the right zoning,
Okay.
whether it's HC2 or HC3, and what Ms.
And
Helen just said, it would be HC3 rather than HC2, even though across the street could have been grandfathered in.
Right, and the
Okay.
reason they're HC2 is they don't have a tow yard, so they are just a regular storage yard. In order to have a tow yard to deal with insurance companies, you have to have HC3, and that's why we're applying for HC3. That's the difference. And it may have been grandfathered in, but that probably is the difference. They have tow companies dropping off vehicles there, where we're our own tow company. We're looking to store vehicles in our yard. So I think that's where the difference of the 2 and the 3 comes in.
However, I would like the commission to, look at it in a way where, the HC3 allows for multiple uses, and, it would have to be looked at, is HC3 appropriate for the area as well?
Okay, all right. So Helen, you got a card with you so that the gentleman can get back in touch with you?
Yes, if it's the wish of the commission to make a motion to postpone.
All right, is there anybody in the audience that wish to speak on this? All right, sir, come forward. Are you for or against? Against, okay. Turn your,
Good afternoon, I'm Don Durkin. I own property across the street. I live at 55347 Highway 433. And I also have one lot south of where this location is, and my home is located on 5 lots north of the location. I've also spoken to my neighbor and speaking on behalf of him. He has 1 lot south and 5 lots north, and we're generally opposed to it. It represents 3 neighbors. We're all across the street, not on the same side of the street, but we basically feel that it would be non-compatible with residential use. We wish Mr. Casey success in going to, but we just think that a storage yard fronting on Highway 433 is inappropriate. It would not give a very good appearance for where our homes are, because it's a residential community. The few people that are non-residential have been there for more than 20 years, as long as I've been there, so I'm sure they're grandfathered in.
okay.
But
All
thank you.
All right, give Ms. Helen your speaker card there. That way she's got an address for you and everything. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Suzanne Krieger. I'm here to speak against it, and I hate to speak against it because Ms. Jones is a lovely lady, and I've known her all my life. But this is not a good thing for this area because we already have the remnants. There's some junk cars right there at where the M&K metal building, it used to be a repair business. And if you look at the map here, you can see the cars. It's an eyesore. It needs to be cleaned up. It hasn't been in operation, to my knowledge, since Katrina. I did drive around that way the other day, and it is just awful that this is still languishing in the area. And I've known the people who own the body shop. I've lived there for 66 years, so I feel sure that that is grandfathered in. But to add another piece of property that could become another junked car eyesore in that area, I think would be a disservice to all the residential residents. That area has gradually been getting cleaned up since Katrina, and I think in the future, that it will become more of a viable residential area. But I would not want to see this type of business located. I own approximately 160 acres on the other side of 2nd Street that I have spent my whole entire life buying back lot by lot, cleaning up messes. Other residents along that road have spent a lot of money cleaning up after Katrina, and I just wouldn't want to see this type of business. And I would hope that Ms. Jones could sell her property to someone who would put this into use that would comply with the residential area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak against? Yes, ma'am. Come forward, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Radasta. I live at 55268 Pine Street, and I actually live directly across the street from the MKS lot that is currently existing between our house and where this lot wants to be. And as she said, there's been cars, junk, but they've been there since before we moved in the 90s. Just like Pike's Classics across the highway, they're all grandfathered in. We don't want this in our neighborhood. It's quiet, residential, families. I just wanted to reiterate. And I've spoken to most of our neighbors, and we're all opposed.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Seeing none, I will close it. No, we'll need to go to rebuttal. Mr. Thorne, you have any comments about what the folks said?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, if you look at the map of the property, as far as highway commercial, because that's what we're trying to get is highway commercial. If you go north of the property, probably for over a mile on that same stretch of road, there's nothing on the highway. On the other side of the road, there's 2 homes. I've spoken to the player. They didn't seem like they had a problem with one of the homes. If you go back south, there's 1 house for the next probably 3/4 of a mile. I've spoken to them. They didn't seem like they had a problem. And then the property that's on side of Pikes, there's probably 5 or 6 houses. I've spoken to every one of those houses except for 1. None of them seemed like they had a problem. As far as what's behind it, which is the MKS building that they're talking about with the cars, that's a place that was grandfathered in that's been there since the 80s. So, like I said, that's commercial, and I just, like I said, across the street is H2 commercial, and it's probably, like I said, 5 or 6 times bigger than this small piece of property. I don't think that piece of property has impacted the area at all in a negative way, and it's bringing revenue to the parish and the city. So, I mean, that's all we're looking to do. We're not looking to, store a bunch of junk cars. It's just, somewhere to operate a business, just like anybody else. I know they just built a Dollar General not too far up the road, which is another commercial business, and just, it adds to the area. These pieces of property have been sitting blighted for years with no one touching them. So, I mean, we're just looking to clean up the area and try and do something, run a business.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
All right. I think you were the next one to speak. You have any rebuttal?
The only comment I would make is that I talked to Robert Garrett, who owns the lot he talked about south of Pike's Auto Body Shop, in the home to the right of Pike's Auto Body Shop. And I spoke to him less than an hour ago, and he was opposed to it. He said he did talk to Mr. Casey on there, but he was not in favor of having the storage yard across the street.
Okay. All right. Ms. Krieger, you got any rebuttal?
Thank you. I just think that if you all would take a ride on that street and see the junk cars around the M&K building, that has not been in operation. It's an abandoned site full of junk cars. And so how in this world could we even think of putting more towed automobiles that could sit there forever in this neighborhood when we need to really get that cleaned up? And I'm sure there's some kind of ordinance that could be used to clean up that property. And so I just kind of urge you to take a look at that and come back next month, and we'll have all the rest of the residents here to share their opinions. But this kind of came on us kind of quickly, and we wanted to come tonight and share our views.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, do you have any rebuttal? No, sir. Okay, all right. Then I'm going to close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, Mr. Chair, looking at the situation, I also rode by that area, and I have to agree with staff's comments here, and I make a motion to deny.
We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to deny. Commissioner Crawford.
Second that motion, but also had some questions that I'd like to ask.
Okay.
Mr. Casey? I just wanted to clarify, you're not an owner of the property at all at this point?
No, we were trying to purchase the property if we could have it zoned.
Okay, so this is a pending purchase if the zoning
Correct.
went through?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else? Commissioner Drum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I know this area. I drive past there quite a bit, and it has been being cleaned up, but it's taken a while since Katrina, but I agree with my cohorts here.
Okay. So you're supporting the denial then?
Correct.
Okay. We have any further discussion? I see no one else in the queue, so please vote. This is a denial.
The motion to deny has passed.
Thank you. Mr. Thorne, you understood that if you disagree with this, you're welcome to appeal it to the council. Okay? Thank you. All right, next item is 2019-1709.
This one, I'm waiting to see if
ZC.
because he didn't put the case number.
Existing zoning is HC1 Highway Commercial District. Proposed zoning is HC1 Highway Commercial District and Entertainment Overlay. It's 2.15 acres. The petitioner is the Inn at La Provence LLC. Cayman and Danielle Sinclair, owner. The Inn at La Provence LLC, Cayman and Danielle Sinclair, parcel located on the south side of US 190, west of Bremerman Road, being 25020 Highway 190, Lacombe, Ward 4, District 7. Staff?
The objective of the request is to allow for the existing buildings and the site to be used as an entertainment venue and restaurant with lounge. Note that the purpose of the entertainment overlay is to allow for entertainment venues, bars, restaurant with lounge, and any other facility required to obtain a permit for the sale of beverages of high alcoholic content, other than beer or wine, and adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods. At this time, staff is not in favor of the request, considering that the site is abutting residential zoning on the south, east, and west sides.
All right. Thank you. Cayman or Danielle Sinclair. We've got Mr. Marone up.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Paul Marone on behalf of the Inn at La Provence LLC, Cayman and Daniel Sinclair. Cayman Sinclair is here with me this evening. This property, as many of you may know from looking at it, is the old La Provence restaurant that Chef Chris Caragiorgio had for many years. In fact, I believe Chef Chris began operating a restaurant at this location. I believe it was 1972, but it was certainly the early 70s. And it was a staple in this area for many, many years, and was a very fine venue that people from around St. Tammany Parish and even from the South Shore would come and enjoy the restaurant, the facility, and Chef Chris's cooking. Some years ago, the facility was sold. Chef Chris sold it. It's gone through a number of owners. One of those owners was John Besh. He had it for a number of years. And then the facility laid vacant for probably about a year when Mr. Sinclair purchased the property. And I believe in August of last year. Since that time, they have put a significant amount of money into renovating, updating, and modernizing that facility with the intent to bring it back to what it was when it was quite the attractive venue that Chef Chris had put out there and that the public had enjoyed. They're in the process of those renovations. In that process, it was determined that for them to be able to do what Chris did, which is operate a full-service restaurant, selling more than just wine and beer, that they would need to have the entertainment overlay. Because even though Chef Chris and John Besh and the other operators had always had the ability to sell more than wine and beer during their operations, the fact that the facility laid vacant for a period of time, they lost that ability, which made that property now subject to the entertainment overlay provisions. So that's what brings us to you this evening. The intent of the request is not to expand the uses. The property is zoned HC1. The intent is to utilize it as HC1 allows, and really to utilize it as it has been utilized since about 1972. That's a restaurant with a lounge and the ability to host functions and parties there, much as Chris Caragiorgio did during his time there, and that John Besh did. In order to do that, in addition to modernizing the facility, which the Sinclairs are in the process of doing, they need to have the ability to sell more than wine and beer. And that goes hand in hand with the type of business that has been there and that they hope to bring back to that location. We know that there is sensitivity as to noise. We're aware of that. Mr. Sinclair operates 2 other venues in St. Tammany Parish. He is keenly aware of having a facility like this next to residential. His other facilities are similarly situated. So he has a good understanding of what the noise requirements and limitations are. He's worked within those, and he will continue to work within those. He's reached out to his neighbors on both sides and in the area, and he intends to continue to work closely with them and to be a good neighbor. He wants to bring that facility back from its dormant condition into a productive, viable part of that community, just as it was for many, many years before he arrived. I think it's a benefit that Mr. Sinclair is local. He's born and raised here. As I said before, he currently owns several other venues in the area. He's been in this business for many, many years, and he knows it well. And I think it's a testament to his vision to see this. He's aware of what was there before. He has a good vision of what he wants to bring back there and to restore what we all really enjoyed through the 70s and 80s and beyond. So again, we would respectfully request your approval of the entertainment overlay. We don't believe that we're bringing anything to this property that hasn't already been there for many, many years. We're simply seeking to maintain that. And the entertainment overlay, with its advent, is a requirement for us to do that now. So we'd respectfully request your approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have at the appropriate time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rome. All right, do we have any speaker cards? Okay, we've got James Mutry.
Yeah.
You wish to speak for or against?
Well, against, but I mean with reservations, because I've lived on Bremen Road in Big Branch since 1988. I also worked at La Provence from 1992 to 1994, so I'm very familiar with the building. And I just have a question about the definition of entertainment venues. While we worked at La Provence, basically it was dinner and maybe someone playing a piano, you know. But as far as entertainment venues, I have a question with that. You know, does that mean big bands? Does that mean, overflow parking? I'm just, wondering about that. It is a very quiet area, and it is relatively close to the backside of this facility. is a housing right on the other side of the trace going south. I know Sinclair's are very good. I've known Callan Sinclair in the past. But I'm just wondering about, the noise levels that would be there, traffic concerns, and I don't really have a problem with the bars and alcohol being served, as long as I'm sure, they put limitations on the patrons in the facility, so there's not sloppiness and, traffic problems outside the restaurant. But your councilman, that's basically the questions that I have. Thank you.
Let me ask staff if kind of define the entertainment venue.
Well, the entertainment overlay, I just, describe the purpose of the entertainment overlay, which is entertainment venues, bars, restaurants with lounges. It opens up to a variety of uses. At this time, I'm not aware if we have a complete site plan of what how the property is to be developed. But if the entertainment overlay is placed on the entire 2.15 acres, then it allows the use of the entire parcel.
Okay.
As
All right. When Paul comes back up, we'll try and get a little further clarification.
would legal like to add to this?
Yeah, I would only just like to point out, too, that it's still an HC1 underlying zoning designation. So you're still going to have the same building requirements and parking requirements that are required for HC1. The entertainment overlay is simply that, an overlay, which allows the sale of the high percentage alcohol beverages in residential areas. But you're still going to be restricted to those building sizes and parking requirements for HC1. I just want to point that out.
Okay. All right. I have another speaker card for Jeannie Meads. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Doherty. It's so nice to see you again. I haven't
see
been here
you.
in a long time, and I guess maybe everybody's happy about that. The first thing I have a question about is I was a little confused about the map here because there's a hash line around it, and it doesn't conform with the zoning. So maybe Ms. Lambert can explain what the hash line means there?
I can answer the question.
Yeah.
But the ash line is actually the property plotted with a meets and bounds. Legal description was submitted, and it reflects the exact meets and bounds of the property itself.
So the zoning that we see in red does not conform with the actual boundary lines?
Well, at times, the zoning may be wider or deeper than the property itself. You may have more land that was.
It would still be an HC1 on all of the property that you see there in red, but the, where the dotted
Overlay
lines
would
are-
be the hashtag.
Pardon?
The overlay would be the hashtag? I guess I'm asking.
That's correct.
Ellen?
That's-
Okay, so that's what you're saying, that the entertainment overlay would encompass the area in the back, which is right adjacent to the trace.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It does not directly abut the trace according to this legal description. However, it might be abutting the right-of-way of the trace.
Yes, the right-of-way of the trace right there. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Janine Meads. I've lived in Big Branch for 30 years, and my property, some of my property is almost immediately behind La Provence. I, too, have worked at La Provence, and I, too, have wonderful memories of this fine institution. I miss Chris. I spent the last night of his life with him in the hospital with his wife, so I really would love to see this restaurant back in operation and be able to enjoy a glass of wine on those next to those lovely fireplaces. Cayman has done a lot of work. He called me and we spoke briefly about his plans. I am very concerned about noise in the neighborhood. That is my first concern because this is all forest land and the noise travels a great deal in the woods. You think that the vegetative cover would make it not so, but that's not the case. I've lived on the same piece of property for 30 years, and I have a problem constantly with people thinking they're out in the country and coming by with amplified music. So the noise, am I out of time? No. Okay, so the noise is really my first concern. Perhaps if you wanted to put the overlay, designate it to the buildings there, because I'm really concerned about bands playing in the back at wedding receptions or something like that. We've recently had a real problem in St. Tammany with a venue on Bayou Liberty having lots of loud music, and I'm sure you've heard about this whole legal kerfuffle. It's been an ongoing thing with the Bayou Liberty Association. So I'm very concerned about the noise, and I spoke to Cayman about it. He's assured me that there will not be noise and that he's been down that road before, but I just want to reiterate that. Other than that, I wish him the best of luck. I hope that he makes a go of this place.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this? Yes, sir. Please come forward and state your name and address, since I don't have a speaker card.
I had given one. You just didn't have a case number.
My name's Thomas Watley.
Okay.
I live at 61757 Bremerman Road, which abuts the property. I've had numerous conversations with Cayman since he's been renovating the property. I also worked for Mr. Chris for 10 years, and it really makes me feel good to see it come back from where it had deteriorated to. I am for this, and I will be the one most impacted by this. Okay. Noise, parking, and everything else. But I am definitely for this, to see that property come back.
All right.
Thank you, Chamber.
All right. Well, we ready for rebuttal together? Okay, anyone else in the audience wish to speak either for or against? Seeing none, we'll go to rebuttal. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly appreciate and respect the comments of some of the surrounding neighbors. I think there might be a little bit of confusion maybe surrounding our request that I'd like to try to clarify. We recognize and appreciate the concern about noise and traffic and parking, but the granting of the overlay, at least in my interpretation of what the overlay is, does not expand or change any of that. The HC1 parking requirements still govern this site. So if you say no tonight, parking's the same. If you say yes, it's the same. The same with the noise. The noise is limited. There are decibel limitations that the parish has, and this site, overlay granted or not, are subject to those. So I don't think I'm oversimplifying this when I say this is really about what beverages can be served there. And the granting of the overlay in an HC1 zone allows, we have the bar and the restaurant, but the granting of the overlay allows us to serve more than wine and beer, which has historically been done there. And I don't think I'm oversimplifying it, but I really think that's what it boils down to. The other issues are not being affected or changed as a result of what you may decide tonight. We've still got to meet those noise requirements. We've still got to meet those parking requirements. For example, the concern about a band being outside. If a band is allowed outside, it's allowed today. The granting of the overlay would not change that. If it's not allowed, the granting of the overlay wouldn't allow it. That is an issue that is already decided by our underlying zoning. And so we're really not expanding on these legitimate issues of concern. Those issues are sort of intrinsic. They are in place and they are in concrete and they will not be changed by whatever decision you make tonight. We're asking you to grant the overlay so that we have the ability to utilize the facility and sell wine, more than just wine and beer. Knowing full well that all of these other requirements we will have to meet, and knowing full well that we have neighbors that we need to be sensitive to and make sure that the operation of the facility does not create a problem for them. And Mr. Sinclair is aware of that and is committed to doing that. So I hope that's provided a little bit of clarity. We appreciate your consideration this evening, and again, I'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, the gentleman, or Jeannie?
Janine Meets again. My question then probably is for staff. The underlying zoning, HC1 right now, does that allow outdoor performances of bands?
It does, well, it's an open answer. It does not allow for entertainment outside of the building itself.
Okay.
However,
if it doesn't allow for outside the building, I'm not concerned. When they do it inside the building, you can't really hear it. But when they go outside in the back, you can hear it all over the neighborhood.
however, and we have a definition. We have the word here, entertainment venue, which does not address if it's outside or inside. Legal, do you have an opinion in that regards, or we don't have an exact definition of entertainment venue, although it is listed here.
No, I don't have much to add to that. I mean, it's not specifically addressed in the HC1 categorization, but they would still be limited to the noise requirements for the underlying zoning classification. But as to where a band could perform on the property, that's not specifically addressed in the underlying zoning class.
But did I not understand Helen to say that it would have to be indoor and not outdoor?
It's usually a time.
Why don't you go to the microphone?
Just a moment, I'm pulling up the.
My name's Cayman Sinclair. Thank you for having us today.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the HC3 zoning, the HC3 zoning clearly states that it allows for entertainment or live performance.
But this is HC1, right?
I understand. I'm trying to compare the two here. It's not specifically prohibited to have outdoor entertainment under the HC1. I think we may have to
Okay, so
do more. So
what I'm understanding is that there'd be no outdoor entertainment. Any entertainment that you may have would have to stay indoor.
Well, I think it has to do in Mandeville, the city of Mandeville and Covington, is that it's a certain decibel and there's a certain time limit to entertainment. So in Mandeville, at Maison Lafitte, my venue, we get a detailed policeman there, and then he watches, crowd stuff, parking, and then any disruption or noise. And so if the noise goes too high and a neighbor complains, then he adjusts it or turns the bass down. And that is at 10 o'clock at night. We don't intend to have music and big loud bands at night. But in the afternoon, if someone had a jazz band, I think that they would be allowed to do that as long as it's within a certain decibel in a certain time. You know, I mean, if I showed up at 11 o'clock with a rap band with big bass blowing down the neighbors, I think that'd be a problem. But we're not really doing that. We're trying to do a Class C operation, and we're just trying to get open and be able to serve beer, wine, and liquor.
Okay.
But, and what Mr. St. Clair just stated is correct. You know, the decibel level isn't enforced in our code of ordinances parish-wide. However, you know, under the HC1 is not specifically prohibit outdoor venues or any type of outdoor entertainment.
Yeah, if you want to have like a symphony thing in the afternoon and have wine and foie gras, pate, I mean, I don't think that would be disruptive as long as it's not so loud that the neighbors are like, don't like the symphony. You know, and that's something I think that's very subjective to the police detail, which we would have for every big event if we were to have a big event. But really, we just want to get the place open and have a restaurant and do brunch and have some parties and dinners and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want it to be an entertainment venue. It's not really going to be that. It's La Provence. It's a single-story French-style place. It's not going to be some big auditorium with bands. And I promise you that, too. I'm not just saying that.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Ms. Mead, does that answer your question?
Well, I hope so.
Okay.
I had another small question. Maybe you can clarify that. With the parking, I know that in the past, when there have been big events there, that they have had a policeman on the road, but the parking goes for about 1/10 of a mile up and down 190. And came and indicated that they were going to have some other provisions for parking, so maybe he could explain that too.
Whatever HC1 allows is what he has to do.
Okay,
Okay.
could we find out what that is?
What HC1 has for parking?
Yeah.
It has to do with the number of customers and number of parking spaces. Am I right there, Helen?
Yes, it's one parking space per three occupants and one parking space per employee on duty.
In
That's
other
what
words,
the
if he's
requirement.
got 200 places for people to sit and enjoy the food and everything, whatever that mathematical equation is, that's what he has to follow.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Paul, you have any other comments? Okay. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. I appreciate everybody's comments. Appreciate the residents especially voicing their opinion for and against. Didn't really hear any against, but for. I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'm going to second it, and we have to allow it, because you can't go to La Provence and not have a martini before you eat, so there's no way you can't do that. So I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think a lot of the confusion is more stemming from the title of our overlay district. When it says entertainment, it immediately kind of provokes thoughts in your mind of this is some sort of a venue. This is relatively new overlay that how long? Maybe it's one of the first ones that have come. In the past, restaurants and lounges were covered inside the zoning on their own. Now, when they're presented to us, we have to also have this overlay, which gives the council the ability to kind of control where establishments that serve liquor are located and have music. So when we use the word entertainment, I think that's throwing us off. I wish we had a different name for it, because, wine and spirits, something along those lines, because it's very broad, and immediately it comes to mind that there's something here more than what actually was there originally. And I think in the spirit of both what the petitioner's trying to do and what this ordinance is we want it back like it used to be. So those are my comments. Again, we're going to see this a lot more, this entertainment overlay on all future type operations like this, and we just need to keep in mind that it doesn't immediately, don't think of a concert hall. Think of a restaurant with a lounge. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Seeger.
What's your expected opening date, sir?
Spring.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Tom?
No, sir.
All right, Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, not Paul, Mrs. Sinclair, and to the public, I totally is in agreement to this motion, to this vote. I just want everybody to know, I might be telling my age, but I used to help deliver Gold Seal milk at La Provence years ago. And I ate there free with the chef. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ms. Parker? The motion to approve has passed.
Thank you. All right, next item is 2019-1711-ZC, existing zonings A1 Suburban District, MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, and RO Rural Overlay. Proposed zonings A2 Suburban District, MHO, and RO. It's 10.11 acres. The petitioners Anthony McGee, the owners Julius McGee, Leonard McGee, Shirley McGee, Davis, Melvia Dean McGee, Betty McGee, Prophet, Anthony McGee Sr., Roy McGee. Parcel located on the west side of Anthony Road, south of Buck Anthony Road, north of Louisiana Highway 40, Folsom, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential and agricultural uses that preserve the countryside. Note that the reason for the request is to accommodate the subdivision of land to parallel a formal succession. Staff is not in favor of the request, considering the site is surrounded by undeveloped land and residential uses that are zoned A1 Suburban District.
Thank you. Anthony McGee, you in the audience? Yes, sir. Please step forward and state your name.
Anthony McGee. I live at 62026 Vista Drive in Lacombe. And we was trying to get the property divided up for the family. It was donated from my mom, my dad, to divide up between the 8 siblings. So we was just trying to get it divided up for we all have our equal parts of it. Now the land that they're talking about that's on the east side of it actually is my grandfather's property, like 40 acres behind it. And the others, my uncle's on the other side, and the other neighbors got 20 acres. So we've been there for ever since I was been alive, so 60 plus years. And so we were just we had it divided up. We thought it was all legal, and everybody been paying taxes on their portions of the property. But when my brother decided he wanted to put a mobile home on it, then they decided that it wasn't properly divided, and it's still one piece.
Okay, so I don't know. I saw a drawing that had like 1 1/4 acres on each parcel, except for one, I think it was, and it was 1.36 acres.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now that sounds to me like it's pretty well divided up, but I think what you're asking for is the manufactured housing overlay, but and you've got
Well, the overlay was
you're
just
going
to be able
down in density to the A2, which is one manufactured housing per acre, which all of that will fall into place, right, Helen?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the manufactured housing overlay is already in place. The request here is to go from A1 to A2.
A2, right.
To be able to create the parcels as shown on the attached survey.
But it looks like it's already divided on the survey.
Well, it is divided on the survey, however, the survey was never officially approved, it never came through the minor subdivision process.
Okay, all right. So he will have to come back and go through the minor subdivision?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're going, if this passes and everything, you will have to come back and go through the minor subdivision process as well. This will, if this passes, it'll take the zoning from A1 down to A2, which is a little more dense, okay? But you'll have to come back and go through the minor subdivision process, okay? And staff and their department can walk you through that. Okay? All right. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Julius W. McGee, known by most as J.W. McGee, but I am the oldest sibling of this, as said, and I live at 83207 Hay Hollow Road. But as said, but we are trying to get this divided. Well, we have it on paper, but it seems to be not showing that here. But like my brother said, this property was donated by my parents. And me being the oldest sibling, I've spent some mighty hot days and cold nights working there to help my parents pay for this property, as says, and I walked to school many days barefooted. I walked to school barefooted until they changed the law to school. You couldn't go. And as says, and we grew up on the farm where I worked from the age of 6, as it says, and in doing so, I didn't know what a school bus was made for unless it was raining when I got out of bed or raining when I got out of school. We worked that morning and walked to school and walked back. And personally, I really feel like we is being done wrong when we done worked all this time to get the property. Now, I could see that if we had just gone in there, but we've been there, and I was raised on that property to show you how far it goes back. When we moved on that property, I was 5 years old, and there was only 7 houses on Anthony Road from one end to the other, and I see all this come in since that time. So I would hope that would be taken under consideration, because I'm blessed if I'm living to see tomorrow. I turn 74, and now I would like to enjoy some of my labor, because as says, I have not been given but one thing in life, and that's a hard way to go. And now I feel like this is coming back to the same thing, but we want to be as says as says ordinance with everybody, but if there is any complaints, as says it's not like we is going to plan junkyards and all that thing. That's not what it's about. I have children and grandchildren, and I want to be able to leave something for them, because at the price of things today, I have grandchildren that I don't think will ever make enough money to buy a house, buy property, and so if this is not allowed, then I got grandchildren coming on that's going to have nowhere to go, and so I mean, but I would hope that somebody would find in their heart to not to disallow this, because this is what we have spent a lifetime looking for the present time. Because see, I'm at my age, I'm not really going forward. I'm backing up, and my children and grandchildren. Now, if I don't leave it for them, I don't feel like they would get there, because I never in my life thought I would see the day when nothing is costing what it costs today. So I don't know what kind of job they would be able to get to buy property and buy a house. And so that's a concern I have. And thank y'all for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Yes, sir. You've got a little over 2 minutes.
Good afternoon to the council. I'm legally blind, but I can't see all of you all, but I'm going to submit. I'm Leonard McGee, and I'm the second sibling in the family, and I own 2 of the plots back there, and in the back we have interest to 2 of the plots, and 2 of them have an interest on the on Anthony Road, and mine and my sisters and others is in the back. So we thought everything was right. It didn't have any idea it wasn't, because we hired a lawyer, and it's been probably 12, 15 years ago. We had this property divided out into the acre and a quarter property. We is already documented in the courts. We've been paying taxes on it. We each and one get our tax on that acre and a quarter. So I don't know how the lawyer and the council, what was going on. I didn't, because we just don't know. When the lawyer did it, and it's in the courts, we thought everything was legal. I don't know how it could not be legal with it, with it in the courts, and I never understood that. But we humbly submit and hope that you all would consider, because we did everything that we thought we were supposed to do when you hired a lawyer, and the courts and the judges all approved it, as far as I know, and we've been paying taxes on it for quite some time now. Okay. In those plots. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? You've got about 9 seconds.
What about anybody against?
No. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Shirley Davis. I'm the owner of Lot 3, or Plot 3. And so my mother, before she died, she was messed up with her land. She said, I want to make sure that my children have a place to live. And so we were raised on from I had polio, but I worked on the farm. And we raised garden and many things. And then when I married, my husband, he jumped, he's deceased now, but he come, and he enjoyed working on the farm. And the thing was, legally, I thought when you make a will is supposed to not be able to be thrown away, because that's the purpose of a will. That you do everything before you die, and it's supposed to be valid. So, but I have a plan to move back. Everything's in process, just waiting because I have everything ready to move back on my property. I didn't want to want to leave, but the house got such bad shape, I couldn't stay there. I had to leave, but then in the process, I supposed to be getting a trailer, but I was, but that didn't work out. I was supposed to be getting a house, that didn't work out. But when you're renting, you never own anything, and why you got property that you can live on that's growing up that you can't live on your own property and enjoy, because that's my problem, my priority. With my mother, when we go, she said, I want to make sure that my children has a place to live. And I lived on that property until the house got too bad. And so I got everything in process. If you all approve, I'm ready. If it was done yesterday, I could be moving like tonight. But that's the thing about it. So I hope that you all would consider other folks, how they feel, how they work hard, and being to the honest. Now, if I was out there a criminal doing other things, I can see that. But this was legally. And my mom and dad, they worked hard for this property. And so, they left it to us to enjoy. And so I hope that you all would consider, how the other person feels that's got land and can't stay on it. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you all.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's no more time for speaking for. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak against? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First, of staff. The entire 10 acres, is it all zoned with a mobile home overlay?
Yes,
Or,
it is.
From front to back?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I have a question of the McGee family. I don't know who wants to come up and speak. So I got some questions. I understand this is a unique situation, and it's a 10-acre parcel divided among a large family. And they've been there, I've been knowing them all my life, and they've been there forever. And I don't have a problem with the subdivision of property, because, heirs got to get their land. And I don't know what happened in the past as far as the legal stuff. Do you know about when that subdivision came about, when y'all legally tried to divide it? Was it in the, on my thing here, I see a 1984 date. I don't know if that's it or that's something else.
1984 was the first time we divided it up, but we did it on 1 acre, and my mom kept 2 acres for herself.
Okay.
And then later we redivided it up for an acre and a quarter. She wanted to give it all to us.
Okay.
And I can go back and get the papers and tell
No,
you
that's-
exactly
that's a
what date
roundabout
it
figure.
was.
It's 2007.
What's that?
2007 is when this survey is done.
When this, that's when the attorneys and y'all did it at the courthouse?
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Well, we did it on a will, so my mom passed away in 2010. And so after that, that's when it went to the courts, after the judge signed off and everything, so it went to the courts after that.
Yeah.
But they said if it went to the courts in 2007, then it would have been approved like it was. But
Like I say, I don't have a problem with the subdivision of the property. I was just trying to get a time frame. One of the main questions I have, what's on the property now? I'm seeing 3 mobile homes and 1 wood residence on my map. What is actually there?
we got 3 mobile homes and a wood structure home that's on there.
And that's on lot 1, 3, 7, and 8. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Right.
7 and 8 is 2 on the back.
2 in the back is 7 and 8, and then 1 is in the front, and then 3 is kind of like one lot from the front. And that's all what's on the property right now?
Okay, You saying 3. Leonard, yours 3 or 4?
There may be lot 1, I'm seeing it. Yeah, 1, 3, 7, and 8. Yeah.
Well, there's a mobile home one on lot 4.
Or lot 4, so there's one not showing on our map?
Right.
So we
The
got,
the lot 3 was a wood structure home that got tore
so
up
it's not a
during
mobile
the
home,
street.
it's vacant then? Lot 3?
Yeah, lot 3 is vacant.
Okay. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, so there's 3 mobile homes on 1 old wood structure.
Yes.
Right. Now, what I'm leading up to is, I know there's concern about the entire 10 acres being a mobile home overlay. And are there any other lots that in the near future, planning to put mobile homes?
Lot 5 is
Okay.
planning to put a mobile home. Lot 3 may be planning to put a mobile home,
Okay,
but
that's it?
yeah.
I know this is a surrounding area's got concerns about the 10 acres becoming to look like a mobile home park. And I know that's, it's up to you if you want a mobile home or a wood structure. And I would like to encourage the wood structures on the remaining pieces of property, but I'm not mandating that or anything. I'm just like to encourage that. Lot 2, is there any plans for Lot 2?
Lot 2 is J.
I don't know who owns that one.
JW.
Yes, sir. I'm JW, lot 2, but there is assigned to me, and I have it in the back of my mind, but it's not in progress to be happening anyway soon. But I do have it in mind if I'm allowed to do that.
To build a wood structure or a mobile home?
I would look for a mobile home. I would like a wood structure, but as it says, right now, I don't see myself being able to build a wood structure like I want to, and that's why I considered a mobile home. And then I was looking at, I have a daughter in Houston that has 4 children, and then I have a son in Lake Charles that has one, and so I was figuring that if they wanted to come and visit me and spend the weekend, that if I had something out there, they could go there, and wouldn't have to interrupt me, and I wouldn't have to interrupt them. But that is not a plan in the near future.
Okay. Like I say, my concern was if we could reduce the home overlay on some of this property, it would satisfy everybody, in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's anything y'all would wish to entertain.
Well, basically, we mostly looking out for the family, and like I say, I'm being the older one. Everything that came down fell on me, and I helped raise the rest, and then I sort of know more about what went on than the rest of the 3 of us. My brother Leonard and Shirley, we're the 3 oldest out of the 8 siblings, and so we know more about what went on than the younger one, but we have passed on to the younger ones what my mother did not tell them, but we would like to be able to use it, but we would be willing to stay within the limits of the law, whatever it is, and because we have not out to break any laws, because of this day, I have never been in jail, never had handcuffs on me. I've been inside of a jail, but I went to visit somebody. It wasn't for me. So because I was raised doing to others as you'd have them doing to you, and my mother and father distilled the righteousness in us, and I have not wavered from that, and don't have any plans of it, because whatever I got, I earned it. Haven't anybody gave me anything, and there's nothing there that is stolen on my property. Now it's many things I ain't got receipts for, but I figure once I paid for it, I didn't have to have it. But I have been a hard worker, and as it says, and I don't want anybody to give me anything but open doors that I can go get it myself. And as it says, and I'm not one that out to do anything wrong because it don't pay off.
Okay, thank you. Bernie?
No, one other thing, on lot one, portion one, the structure home there, the wood structure, at some point in time, I might want to remodel it.
I guess that leads me to a question to staff. If they have a mobile home on there, can he remodel the wood structure? It'd be two homes on that one parcel.
No, that parcel don't have a mobile home on it.
Well, I'm seeing one, on my map.
That, it used to be there.
Oh, okay,
That
there we
burned
go.
down.
That's throwing me off a lot right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that would help the whole plat, I think, if there was a wood structure remodeled on that first parcel. And, I'm going to move for approval. And of the subdivision with the mobile home overlay and the rural overlay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, before I'd just like to say to the family, hey, you guys going through this situation with the succession, get your business straight, and make sure it's legal and in place. That way, your siblings, your children, grandchildren won't have to face what you all are facing. I second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Fitzmaurice? Okay, all right. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
The motion to approve has passed.
Thank you. Pen fell apart. All right, next item, that's the 2019-17-12 ZC. Item 4 was postponed till March. Next item is 2019-17-13 ZC. Existing zoning is A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning is A4 Single Family Residential and a manufactured housing overlay. It's .951 acres. The petitioners is St. Tammany Parish Council by motion on 11/7/2019. The owner is Catherine and Prentice Nobles. Parcel located on the west side of Gunter Drive, south of Louisiana Highway 36, being 72197 Gunter Drive, Abita Springs, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Staff is not in favor of the request for an A4 single-family residential zoning district, considering that the site is surrounded by parcels of land zoned A3, and a change of the zoning designation could allow for a potential increase in density. However, staff is not opposed to the request for a manufactured housing overlay as it complies with the site's comprehensive plan designation.
Thank you. Catherine or Prentice Nobles, are you in the audience? Good evening.
Good evening. How are y'all? Hey, Mr. Randolph. Hi. How are you? You remember me? From the school board?
Yes.
I don't think we ever actually saw each other, but we spoke many times. And Mr. Bernie Willie, I haven't seen you in years, since I was in Folsom when my babies were little bitty. My name is Catherine Nobles. I live at 72197 Gertner Drive. And rezoning was never like my main priority. I got hurt last year. I have a almost herniated, almost ruptured disc in my back, and ended up having to go on disability after working all my life. And my son moved home to help pay my bills. And my reason for wanting a mobile home overlay on the property is so that I can put him, I gave him half my property verbally, so that he can put a little house or a little something in the front. There's always been a mobile home there. We're kind of, in between the city and the parish. Like I said, I would like to get the mobile home overlay if possible. There's already one on the property. There's been one on the property for years and years. I'm not looking to hurt anybody else's property values or anything. I'm not looking to do any of that. I'm just trying to, give my son part of my property so he can put a little mobile home. He's the only, I have 4 children. I raised them all right there. And 2 of them have their own places. So I would only have one that didn't have her own place, to live. They're still kind of young. Ages 28 to 26, basically.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Let's see if there's anybody else who wishes to speak in the audience. You wish to speak for or against? Good evening. Please
Good
state
evening.
your name and address.
My name is Melva Quave Land. I live at 72212 Gertner Drive. I'm not exactly opposed to it, to them having one trailer or home put there, but on .95 acre, I would be opposed to more than one. And I'm kind of just concerned too about our property value, what will happen to our property value.
Okay.
So I've just been praying and praying about this, and I'm just trusting the Lord to bless everybody to make the right decision. I don't want any kind of illness or anything. I just want what's right for everybody.
Okay.
Mr. Randolph, I remember you from the cleaners. God bless you.
Boy, you in trouble now. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and state your name and address.
My name's Jackie Baker. It was my grandfather's property. That's my aunt that still lives there. And when my grandmother passed away, there was a person that was not a family member, but she was kind of close to my grandmother, and she talked my grandmother into the property that the mobile home's on now, with that there would never be another mobile home on the property. And like Aunt Melvin said, she's still alive, she still lives there, and what's it going to do to the property? Because there's a brick home on the property. The drive goes through the property and around a circle, and the mobile home's on this side, and then the house, and another big, large piece of property is back there also, and it butts up against the trace. So if anything ever got developed in that area, and you have mobile homes on the property, it would depreciate the area, and that's our concern, is it depreciating the area.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak against? We'll go back to rebuttal. Mrs. Nobles?
Yeah. I've lived there since 1999. We moved there with my kids. They were 5, 4, and 3. They're now 28, 27, and 26. There's always been a mobile home back there. I'm not looking to trash anybody's property, which really, honestly, and truly, another mobile home on the property would help. considering, you know, what I know. I'm not trying to trash anybody's property. I'm just trying to help my son. Like the same thing with these people leaving stuff with their kids. You know, I don't have a whole lot in this world. You know, I've worked for everything that I've got. I've worked hard for what I've got. My kids all get out every day and they work hard for what they got. But some of them just need a little leg up, you know, just need a little help. So putting another mobile home, it would only be a 2-bedroom. It wouldn't be a whole lot, you know, and that would be it. I wouldn't put anything else on there. Eventually later on, we're gonna fence it. If I could put an 8-foot high privacy fence around my whole property, I would do that in a heartbeat. And maybe that would beautify across the street or whatever. But I'm just, like I said, we've been there this long. We didn't just move in yesterday and, oh, this is what I want to do. There's a mobile home on the property now. There was one before Katrina that got destroyed. I had 6 trees in it. You know, 3 of them where my children would have been sleeping. So we lost everything. Couldn't live there for a year and a half because just trying to get everything, you know, get another mobile home put on the property. So this is where my kids grew up. And I feel I want to leave, you know, give him half and put a little mobile home on there.
Okay.
It's a rural area. It's not like we got restaurants and, you know, a whole lot of neighborhood. I have 4 neighbors. I have 2 neighbors that actually do not have a problem with what I'm doing. 2 neighbors that actually, one of them, I'm hoping she said she was going to call and say that she was for it. They were for the rezoning. Like I said, I'm not worried about the rezoning, really. I'd like to get it done for future use, but if not, okay. But I do want the mobile home overlay. This objection is not hurting me or my husband. It's hurting my son, and he doesn't deserve that. He just wants a piece of property, you know, with a home on it, where he was raised. Moved there when they were 5. He's 28 now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right. The other folks, do you have any comments as far as rebuttal?
She was talking about the amount of trees. There's still the same amount of trees on the property. And to me, the property is not big enough for 2 mobile homes, whether it's 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or what. I have kids too. I don't have a piece of property to put my kids on. They have to fend for themselves. I raised them to work and buy their own, and that's just the way I feel about it. My aunt's still alive. We've had the property in the family for a long time. My grandfather would have never went for a mobile home being there. But there is, and we've let one, but I'm totally against anymore. And it's only not even an acre of land, so.
Okay, thank you. All right. We've gone through presentation and rebuttal on both sides, so I'm going to. Okay, there's a little bit of time left, so come on to the mic first.
If I had an acre of property, instead of .951, which is what, 5 feet short of an acre, I wouldn't even have to be standing up in front of the council asking, can I please do this for my son? And that's what it all boils down to. When I contacted Mr. Fitzgerald, he said, okay, this is what you need to do because you don't have an acre.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't feel that I should be punished for 5 feet. If I had 5 more feet, I would just apply for the permit and it would be done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Yes, I have a couple questions for staff. On the rules and regulations, is that true what she said, if she had 5 more feet, that they would allow 2 mobile homes on such a small piece of property?
I can't confirm if it would be just an extra 5 feet. However, if the property would have been 1 acre in size, then it would allow her to apply for a building permit to build a guest house under 1,000 square feet. It would not allow for a mobile home to be placed on the property. And that's the reason for the request here. Considering that the property is less than 1 acre and the A3 suburban allows for two residences per acre, then she's requesting to go to the A4 to be able to place a second residence, but not only a second residence, the second residence would be a manufactured home.
Ms. Nobles, is there any chance that you would consider building a guest house instead of having a mobile home on that property?
You need to come back to the mic, please.
In the event that, she wishes to build a guest house under 1,000 square feet, the request will still be necessary, considering that she does not have 1 acre. The property is not 1 acre in size.
Yeah, that's the whole niche, and the whole thing is, I'm this foot short of an acre.
Okay, so, but everything you've been talking about is putting a mobile home. I'm asking, are you willing to agree?
I'm willing to explore other avenues. My main concern is, I told him I'd give him half my property and I want to put him something out there. If it ends up being a little guest house, it ends up being a guest house. That's fine with me. A mobile home, he's been looking at them and all that, and that's the only reason why I said a mobile home. But, a guest house is fine with me. The mobile home would be easier because it would be, I'd be able to, he could go put money down on it, and, we would still have to go through all the motions that I had to the first time after Katrina when I put my new mobile home on there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, you have anything else?
I'm just a little bit confused about what may be and what, it seems like the intention is to put a mobile home. If that's the case, then I'd like to move that this request be denied. And that's what was talked about, and that's why I asked the question. And I think if you perhaps came back, I don't know, Mr. Chair, I don't know the proper procedure for doing that, but at this time, since most of the requests have been talking about a mobile home, I'm going to move to deny.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Seeger to deny, and I have a question for Helen. I think I heard you say that on an A3, and I was going back through my notes and I can't find it, but they can have 2 residents
Per acre.
per acre.
But considering that the property is not 1 acre in size, at this time, she can only have 1 residence on the property. The request is to go to A4 to allow her to add not only a second residence, but also to add a second residence as a mobile home.
Okay.
Now, it's 2 requests under the same, but in the event that the zoning commission would vote in favor of the manufactured housing overlay, well, she will not be able to add a manufactured home without the A4 as well.
Okay, all right. Do you understand that, Tom?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you still want a motion to deny?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Seeger to deny.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is the motion to deny the A4 and the MHO, or just the MHO?
No, I would.
So that's 2 separate issues here. My motion is to deny the HMO.
The MHO,
I
but
mean, the MHO.
you're in favor of the A4, the request for A4.
The A4 would be fine if it was built as a guest house and not as a manufactured home. So there's really 2 different issues in this request.
We'll take it as 2 different issues. Your motion right now is to deny the manufactured housing.
That's correct.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Seeger to deny the MHO on this particular item. Any further discussion? Commissioner Randolph, I'm sorry.
Further discussion, not a second, but further discussion. I want to make sure I'm clear. The request is from an A3 suburban to an A4 single residential with the manufactured home overlay.
Correct, yes.
Okay. That part, the A4 MHO with the MHO overlay, is being denied because of the size of the property, and not necessarily having the opportunity to put a manufactured home on that property because of its size.
Is your question related to the current status? Or to
No. What she's requesting.
Her request is to go to A4.
Correct.
Which will allow her to add another residence on the property. And also, the request is to go to the manufactured housing overlay to allow for the second residence to be a manufactured home.
Okay.
However, the manufactured home needs the A4, but the A4 does not require a positive vote or approval of the manufactured housing overlay.
Okay.
So we're basically splitting this into two different motions, okay? Right now, what we have on the floor is a denial of the manufactured housing overlay on this particular item. No, we haven't taken the A4 up yet.
Okay, so we're separating the two now.
Right.
No, not necessarily.
Commissioner Richard.
No. He's in front of me.
Oh, Commissioner Drum, I'm sorry.
There we go. Ms. Noble.
Yes, sir.
May I see you up here, please? Oh, you ought to sit closer, I guess. Just sit closer, but come up right now, please. Right now, if I understand this correctly, correct me if I'm not correctly correct.
Do what?
Okay. You want to rezone your property to an A4.
Well, what I originally wanted was a mobile home overlay, and when I reached out to Mr. Fitzgerald, he's the one that told me that I had to go from A3 to A4 in order to be able to do that because my property is .951.
Okay.
Not a whole entire complete acre. It's
Okay, so that's A, that's one. The second one is you want that so you can put a mobile home on it, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I have one on the property, but I would not be opposed to doing like, Mr. Seeger said, a little guest house or a little something, just something for him. The mobile home was just, in my mind, right then and there, the easiest thing to go for.
Okay.
I would like to put one out there, a little two-bedroom, not anything really big or anything like that, and eventually, like I said, we would put a fence up, and, help out the.
But right now, Mr. Seeger has put forward a motion to deny the mobile home. Now, overlay, excuse me, the mobile home overlay, but we still have open the A4. So you want the A4 so we could put the mobile home overlay, but if the mobile home overlay is denied, you're still gonna need the A4?
If I'm gonna need A4 to put a guest house or something like that on the property, then yes, sir.
Okay,
I mean, if we're gonna move forward and build, it's probably gonna have to be A4 anyway,
okay,
later on. So this is just basically, trying to.
okay. So you understand it's gonna be two votes, right?
Yes, sir. One
Okay.
for the mobile home overlay and one for the rezoning to where
Okay.
I can do the guest house or whatever we decide to do.
I just wanted to make sure that I was correct or incorrect. Thank you.
John, you good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue I see here is, well, it's gotten more complicated, but I think you're intending to subdivide this property and therefore give a piece to.
Well, that was just verbal.
Okay, a verbal subdivision. The staff has a challenge here with the density in the area going from A3 to A4. And that's my biggest concern for the neighborhood. I respect the fact that you've got less than an acre and you want to subdivide it or give your son an opportunity, but I'm more concerned about the density and protecting the neighborhood. These folks that have been there a long time have put a lot into it, and so I'm going to move to deny both motions.
Okay.
Well, I'm denied making the zoning change and the MHO, and at this point in time, there's a manufactured house on the property that I assume is grandfathered in. Okay, so I move to deny the request.
And this, Commissioner Fitzpatrick, this will take precedence over Mr. Seeger's motion. Okay. So we need to vote on this.
We got a second.
Yeah. Do we have a second on Commissioner Richard's motion?
Crawford, second.
Commissioner Crawford, second. Pardon?
Sure.
And I just wanted to point out that technically a motion to deny is out of order under Robert's rules, but if you go forward with a motion to deny, if the motion to deny fails, it is not an implied approval. You will then have to take action to actually approve the A4 rezoning and/or the manufactured home overlay. I just want to make sure that that's clear to all the commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph, do you have any comment to make before we take a vote on denying both the A4 and the MHO?
No.
Commissioner Seeger, you have any further comment?
Yes. I will withdraw my original motion at this time and second the motion that's on the floor to deny both.
Okay. All right. We have a double second on the denial. So that's not a problem. Okay. Any further discussion? The motion that's on the floor is to deny the A4 and the manufactured housing overlay. Please vote.
The motion to deny both classifications is approved.
All right, thank you. All right. All right, next item is 2019-1714-ZC, existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood and Institutional District. Proposed zoning is HC1 Highway Commercial District. It's 0.57 acres. Petitioner is St. Tammany Parish Council District by motion, 11/7/2019. The owner is Robert Harbison Jr., parcel located on the north side of US Highway 190, Fremont Avenue, west of Broadmoor Drive, east of 11th Street, being 1290 Fremont Avenue, Slidell, Ward 8, District 12. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses that vary in site design and density. Staff does not have any objection to the request, as the petition property is located on a block with multiple existing highway commercial zoning designations.
Thank you. Mr. Harbison? Good evening.
Good evening. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to say here. I've already been through this once before. So
supposedly when Fremont Avenue was originally zoned, they missed me. So I had to come down when I was adding on to my building and have it rezoned to the highway commercial. Well, somehow along the line, whatever zoning thing does, I don't really know what they do. Somebody came along and changed it. I'd already, like I said, petitioned and paid for the zoning years ago, and just recently found out that it had been rezoned. And I'm just trying to get it back to what I already paid for.
Okay, all right. Let's see if anybody else in the audience wishes to speak on this. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing none, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Willie? Motion to approve has passed.
Thank you. Next item. That was probably the comprehensive rezoning is what we referred to, where they went through and rezoned the whole parish. Okay? Thank you. Next item is 2019-1716-ZC, existing zonings HC3 Highway Commercial District, proposed zonings MD1 Medical Residential District. It's 3.901 acres. Petitioner's Mike Serona. Owners PHVIF Covington LLC, Kevin Cadden. Location partially located on the west side of Holiday Square Boulevard, east of Cellular Lane, north of Interstate 12, being 101 Holiday Square Boulevard, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
Staff is not opposed to the request, considering that the purpose of the MD1 is to provide for the location of long-term care and housing of individuals with medical conditions. The request is compliant with the site's comprehensive plan, and staff has no objection to the request.
Thank you. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Members of the commission, Paul Morone on behalf of the petitioner, Mr. Serona. Mr. Serona is here tonight and making the request so that he can convert this hotel facility to an assisted living facility, as Ms. Lambert just noted. This particular hotel has underperformed, and it has been for sale for a number of years, I believe at least 2 years, and it has been unable to move the property. Mr. Serona has been in the hotel business for many years, and in recent times, he is in the business of converting existing hotels into other uses like assisted living facilities. And that is the intent for this particular property. As you're aware, this property is surrounded by more intense uses. This would really be a down zone from the hotel use and the heavy commercial zoning that it has now to the MD1, and we would respectfully request your approval in accordance with the staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Richard.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richard. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Carolyn. The motion to approve has passed.
Thank you. Do we have any new business? Any old business? Do we have an adjourn?
I think he just did it in German. I think that was it in German.